San Francisco. San Francisco. Let's see. So we just finished Vampires in Iraq. Very heavy discussion of the war in Iraq. What I know from 2003 into 2008, and then I stopped reading books and studying about that. So that's going to require some digging into to catch up on what's been going on, since we are failing in our civilian oversight of our military, which is how we got to the position we're in right now. But at that time, I had to put that down. So now we have another poem I wrote. It is, yeah, let me read the poem. It's a lyrical poem, there's a melody to this. San Francisco. I got this idea of singing it like really annoying, kind of like Neutral Milk Hotel, but even more annoying. They're one of my favorite bands. When I was in the military, someone turned me on to a friend of mine from Santa Cruz. So, but yeah, I'll just read it normal, and then I'll give you an example of how I sing it on guitar. So San Francisco. Tell me what happens when a girl's eyes fill with the lights of the city from the top of a hill, and the stars all conspire to come out tonight, the moon burning bright like a funeral pyre. Young and stupid and like a disease, tongue in your throat at my knees. Didn't your mother teach you to say please? Leave me alone once you're done with me, lover. Now you're the maid with the sad letter writing. How many boys did you drown with your crying? Nowhere to be found when I was left dying. The whole world trying to put me in the ground. And didn't your boy pay forgiveness again with all of his toys, with all of his men? Send me a post when the shit hits the fan. I'll do what I can, and I'll raise up a toast. Here's to the girl with the miracle hips, freckles that melt into delicate lips. Everything wrong traces back to that kiss. You're such a bitch. Here, I wrote you a song. The way I sing it. So obviously this is like male love scorned. Yeah, so this is the tone that, I think there's a video of me playing it. Tell me what happens when a girl's eyes fill with the lights of a city on the top of a hill, and the stars all conspire to come out tonight, the moon burning bright like a funeral pyre. So like when you have the last verse, I go, here's to the girl with the miracle hips and the freckles that melts into delicate lips. Everything wrong traces back to that kiss. You're such a bitch. Here I wrote you a song. Anyways, it's I think it's hilarious. Sometimes you have songs where you play with friends or like you're hanging out that you're trying to impress people, and some songs are just like silly. It's a silly song. What's going on in my life? Why did I write that silly song? I have to catch up because we just did 10, 11 hours of Iraq notes, so I have to remember what track we were on. We did Proud Pops, talked about my pops, birth certificate, I think I talked about my grandparents, what I know about the family, as you gather these family stories. First sales call, the same way. What nurture and nature, how did I get into sales, what type of jobs did I always have, what type of person was I becoming. 6th grade, the same way. I'm staying here at my folks' house now, November 2018. It's cool because we're going over a lot of old family photos, and I'm digging up all sorts of stuff from the past. Yeah, I think I have a picture here. There's a picture from the past. So that is me on the Bull in Wall Street, the Wall Street Bull. It's all gated off now after 9/11, heightened security. That was with my cousins, Mexican cousin, white cousin. I'm climbing on the Bull. So I've always been one to climb things, a little bit wild, crazy. So Randall's yearbook signing, so that was more about Randall's yearbook signing, 98, 99, when that picture happened. Randall is that guy who's on the standard path in life. He's got an undergrad, now he's going for the graduate, or he's going for the law degree from Berkeley Law School. He's probably going to run for office, I'm calling it, because he's worked in Jerry Brown's office. The governor of California, that's what you do. You get your degrees, you get some political experience, and then you go and finish your education. Maybe, let's see if he gets on their law journal like Obama did. I was looking up, since I'm going to be pitching my book proposal, I was looking up when Barack, let me not be rude, when Barack sold his book, Dreams of My Father, and he, they say he was approached when he was first elected, the first black president, or whatever you call it, of the Harvard Law Review. He was approached with a book deal, and he, but the book was published when he was 34. So I don't know. I don't know what he did in between, how long it took him to write that book. He wasn't 34 or 32 when he, well, we could look it up. Anyways, he published that book, Dreams of My Father, when he was 34. I'm 36, turning 37, Ides of March next year, so not so bad as far as political ambitions getting your book out there. But I think Randall's going the more typical route. He's been working in the Democratic Party in the highest offices in California, the governor's office, and then yeah, he's getting the law degree. So that's what you do. Growing up, though, I saw that Randall was a class president. Class presidents going on that normal track. That's why I'm holding him up as a foil, I guess. That's why I included him in this. And also, I haven't really talked to the guy since high school. So half my life, 18 years now. So this will be an interesting way for us to reach out. Then I have high school, that poem showing that I'm disaffected in my path, what people are trying to tell me to do. Wrestler, I was an underdog wrestler on an underdog team. Became the captain, but we never won anything. Continuing life pattern of doing things because I derive benefit from them, or doing things for the experience, not for the reward. On the wrestling team, I didn't even think I was going to get a letter the first year. And I got a couple awards in individual meets. Sometimes you go to a meet and every individual weight class is competing against other individual weight classes. So I think I got a gold medal, or I won one of those championships by beating the other weight classes of the local schools. But as a team, we didn't really win anything. And I didn't matriculate. California's a big state. I didn't go to state or anything like that. Didn't take it seriously. Again, it was a way to get in shape. I liked physical stuff, test myself, learn more formal systems of fighting. Me and my friends would roll around and watch Russian videos, joint manipulation, sambo, but that was I got to learn that side. And then when I was in New York, making some good money in real estate, 30 to 35, I signed up for a Gracie gym. Henzo Gracie has a gym in Chelsea. Some good people over there, and I rolled around a little bit with them. Didn't stick with it, but I got to peek my head into that door. So that seems to be a habit of me. Mine, peek my head into doors, but not really joining, just observing, being a tourist within other tribes. And then moving on. Third Estate was my underground newspaper. My Army driver's license was when I was in the Army, showing what type of attitude I had, doing the head up, looking down at the camera posture, that my little street thug friends would say. That's why when you take a picture you want to look hard. Military jacket shows what type of soldier I was, questioning authority, talking back. Every time I get disciplined, I'd write in the comment section. No one does that. I didn't know anyone else who did that, but there's this comment section, so I'd be spout off. When they try to disenroll me from the language school, I was hired by the military to learn Korean and do my training for military intelligence as a linguist. I didn't train well, but I was a good soldier, and I have character reference attesting to that. I was a hard worker. I was good at my physical fitness, and people respected me. I wouldn't get in trouble with authority. Never respected authority. High school, why would I respect it in military? So they let me out in 2002, which is a lucky break. They could have kept me the rest of my enlistment, just put me in a shit job. Apparently they thought I was dangerous enough to let me go. I would help counsel other people on how to get out of the army. So they didn't want people like me in there counseling people on their rights and how to defend themselves. I had a book by the Association of Friends of Quakers, Military Discharges and GI Rights, and I would use that. I helped a guy write up his papers for his conscientious objector. Yeah, I was too smart for my own good and the military's own good. So mutual breakup, they said, get the fuck out of here. I said, cool, I want my freedom. Right before I got out of the army, I would have these dreams. Not really nightmares, but dreams that I'd just like be running to Mexico. I'd have a feeling if they didn't let me out, I was going to go AWOL. The stifling of my freedom was too much. I was starting to have dreams of going to Mexico, and that's a bad sign. And definitely after 9/11, they probably wouldn't let me out because they needed people. HFC letter of employment. I worked these jobs. That's just an example of a job. I had a lot more jobs than that. I got out of the army. I did a pizza delivery. I did community college. I was on their Model UN for a little bit. I was playing a lot of ping pong in my mom's garage. One of the first things I bought with my first money other than the army money was a ping pong table. Loved ping pong since I was young, drinking beers, playing ping pong. Mostly trying to learn how to be a man, trying to learn how to be a young man. And I needed female experience, I feel like, not just work experience, not just life experience. I lost my virginity in the army when I was 19, but other than that, made out with a couple girls, so I was kind of looking for that girlfriend or something. She said she was 17, CSUSB stories, so I didn't get any traction in college. At this time, when I met that girl who, when she was 17 and I was 21 or 22, and I got out of the army when I was 20. So about a year or two after I got out of the army, I met that girl that I was in love with for pretty much my 20s until I was like 25, 26. And I actually got a long-term girlfriend. She was always into drugs. I was always chasing her. She was wild and crazy. She was a younger sister of a guy I knew in middle school. I saw him at a car dealership. He was selling cars. My friend was buying a car. Went to hang out with him, talk about working together. He was managing a music studio. I've always played guitar, picked it up in the army, picked up drinking, smoking, playing guitar in the army. And then his sister, I saw his sister when I was over at his place visiting, coming out of the bathroom in a towel, and catch someone's eye, and that's that. She said she was 17, so around this time I was trying to go to college, do the normal thing. The army, I didn't get traction there. Community college, I didn't get traction there. And my jobs, obviously, I'm better served. I have more talent than being a pizza delivery guy, I knew that. So then I did some sales jobs, and then I got into the HFC job. I started going up to Santa Cruz. And then I moved up to Santa Cruz, that's what it was. And then I moved back down, and then the CSUSB. And again, in my early 20s, it was like 3 months here, 3 months there. So when I'm in community college, it's only like after the army, it's like 20 to like 25, 26. It's like 3 months community college and not really feeling it. And then I go to LA for a little bit, not really feeling it. Then I go to Santa Cruz a little bit. I actually like Santa Cruz. And then I move up to Santa Cruz with some friends. That's where a lot of these poems come from, my Santa Cruz time with my friends. So HFC, onward. Hanging out in Santa Cruz, getting a couple jobs, working, always trying to be self-dependent, independent. Although my folks are good to me, and they help finance a car for me and stuff like that, so they're giving me the little safety net to keep me going. So I went through all these poems, and then so CSUSB stories was one of the times I came back down, and I tried to go back down to Cal State San Bernardino, which is in Southern California. So this is all in California, but now it's between Santa Cruz, which is in Central California, about 6 hours north of Southern California, and Cal State San Bernardino, which is in Southern California. All these poems: Firewood, Long Walk, College, Whiskey Woman, Me and Colette, Ireland Smile, Walking, How Much Does a Man? How Much Does a Man is a adaptation of Pablo Neruda. When I was in college, I didn't really take to the Cal State, just like I didn't take to the community college, but I was reading a lot, and so when I was in a poetry class, I would look up the poetry reader and find other people I liked. Started liking Pablo Neruda, finding other people I liked in the canon. Stark Raven Maddie, Fable of the Mermaid and the Drunks. Mermaid One is another Pablo Neruda. Vagrants Vedas is a guy. When I moved up to, that's a funny thing, when I moved up to Santa Cruz, I was looking back on my life as I think about this process, and I'm only like about a third of the way through it. I have like maybe 60 more hours to go. And this already, I'm not really talking about like San Francisco, but I'm trying to, the vampires interact with so much, we have to, just in my own mind, just catch up on the narrative. Um, so Vagrants Vedas, I noticed that the girl that Vagrant was living with, my friend that we all got a house by the beach with that cliff overlooking the beach in Aptos, on Pine Tree Lane. It's a really beautiful little street right next to the ocean in Aptos, which Aptos is right next to Santa Cruz, small town right outside. You could just stumble down to the beach. I had that one memory, me and my army buddy, when he got out, we went down there, we just got some driftwood, made a bonfire, just hung out, drank beers. It's that type of place. You could just go and just, decompress. Men don't really, in my experience, like talk. Like we hang out, but we don't the conversation comes, but you don't seek it out. So stuff like that is when you kind of like bond, is when you're just hanging out, having a beer, watching the fire. And I was thinking about that girl who got the house. She had a boyfriend in Southern California, and then her and her boyfriend came up and got that house with me by the beach. But they were addicted to methamphetamine in Southern California. So when I go back to find the impulse to do these things, they're not just me exploring the world and trying to just get experience after experience, like an experience junkie. I had people I cared about in my life who I constantly tried to take care of in my own way. And so I knew that San Bernardino being the meth capital of the world, when I first got out of the army, me and her boyfriend and someone else got this apartment together, a childhood friend of mine, that guy who gave me the Shaz Barberigi mill. And even that story, I went to Texas and picked him up. He was in Texas and it didn't seem like he was doing good. He was just kind of floating. So me and my buddy were like, dude, what are you doing? How far are you away? We Google mapped it, it was 17 hours. We're like, we'll be out there next weekend. And that's actually why I stopped going to community college, because I went to pick up my friend and I thought that was more important. And I dropped out of community college because I guess I missed a couple classes and I was like, well, fuck it, I'm already failing. But we picked him up because he seemed like he was starting to make some bad decisions in Texas. Brought him back to California, and then we got an apartment together. And then that was with my other friend, the ones who were doing meth. They had just been kicked out of their parents' house because of drugs, and also because they were like, I think they graduated high school, they didn't drop out. And so we lost that apartment, but then when I learned about, but then we got a house in Yucaipa, which is right next to Redlands. We got another house together. And so I tried to take care of people I care about. When people are struggling, I didn't babysit them and I didn't live their life for them. But I spend a little bit of my energy to create a landing pad, and then I move on with my adventures. And I think people have resented me for that, because I'll start something and then I'll just abandon it. But I leave people better off than how I found them, I think. So when they needed a place, I made sure we got an apartment together. And then we went from that apartment to the house. But just people are like, well, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm going to community college and I quit. And I'm going to Cal State, then I quit, going to LA, and then moved up to Santa Cruz. But when I moved up to Santa Cruz and left my friends in Southern California, I eventually brought them, or some of them, with me. That couple that had been addicted to meth. They were out and they were clean. And that was also growing up and seeing addiction around me. They both looked at each other and one day just said, let's not pick up anymore. We're happy, we're in love. So they use their love to get out of addiction. So I know that there's different ways to get out of addiction. And that's one of the beginnings of me understanding that it's a hole in your heart. It sounds cliche, but people need love and comfort, and that's why you don't judge them too. I would judge, when I fell in love with that girl who was addicted to heroin, I would judge her harshly, take her needles when I would find them, and just, why can't you just be clean? But then I would see how my ex-meth addict friends, they were only doing it for like a year, but it's still dangerous and scary. I would see how they treat their friends who are still in it, and they would just treat them with unconditional love, and they would say, just don't do it in our house. But when they would come to the house, the spun out people, I had some friends who were spun out, and I was still kind of being harsh to them. But I would see how they treated their friends, and they were just like, don't bring it into our house, but if you need love and if you need a place to crash, we're here for you. So I was like, all right. So I think sometimes as a young man or a survivor, you have the survivor's guilt, but part of it is self-induced, because you feel like, I survived. I didn't pick up meth. So these guys should be able to, or like that girl that I fell in love with. Like, I don't pick up a heroin habit, so you should be able to. I don't know what trauma or what she's dealing with in her life, which I learned later on by becoming her friend. But um, lead with love and unconditional support. Don't enable. Draw your line in the sand. Don't let them bring their problems or their drugs into your life or your house. But if you can, offer support, and that might be the lifeline people need. That's what I've learned. So that goes into why I went to Santa Cruz. It wasn't just to be a writer and other stuff. I was just remembering, oh, you know what? And I remember that because I was talking to my folks about that guy. He's not dating my friend anymore, but after her, the guy who moved up there with her, and we all got the house together. As soon as he broke up with my friend, he started dating someone else at the grocery store he was working with, and now they have a daughter. She's like 8 years old, 10 years old now. So I was just thinking about people I know in my life, and I was like, wow, it's not like we saved him. Everyone saves himself. But if he is stuck in Southern California in San Bernardino, would he have quit meth? Would he have stayed a couple years? I mean, him and the relationship, they stopped. But like it was always around. I remember when we were at the apartment and someone came by to buy from our upstairs neighbor. Our upstairs neighbor was selling meth, and so that was probably not a good place for them to be living. And that's why one of the reasons we got the house, we moved. It was a really bad neighborhood we were living in. But I remember one of their friends coming by to pick up from her upstairs neighbor, and then she comes downstairs, and she is the daughter of either the principal or a teacher. It was at least a teacher, like a counselor. I don't think it was the principal, but it was like a counselor at school. I forget their last name. Doesn't matter. She was like a cheerleader. She was like a fancy girl from like the nice part of town, picking up meth at our part of town. Not just our part of town, at our upstairs apartment, the apartment upstairs from us. And she comes downstairs and she waves a bag of meth in their face. Like, I see my friend, and she notices her friend and come over or something. So they're talking, and she pulls out the bag of meth in front of my friend, and she says, hey, do you think I got ripped off? And I just pulled up from like my pizza delivery job or something. So I just saw the girl that I know is still on it, and a bag in front of my friend who's living with me, that I'm trying to create the space to help them get clean. I know that they're not on it anymore, but I know that, you know, these types of things, it's not clear cut. Like, we need distance from that. And so I see that and I get out of my car so pissed off. It's like, I don't fight men. I'm not gonna fight a woman. I'm very like low. It takes a lot to get me up. But I yelled at her. I was like, are you trying to fucking sell meth to us? Or like to my friend or whatever. I shouted her name though. I was like, are you trying to sell us meth? And I knew she wasn't. I knew exactly from like, and then they told me what happened later on. But I knew it was her friend trying to fucking tempt her. But I fucking scared her ass out of there. I yelled that shit. Are you trying to fucking sell us meth? And she got the fuck out of there. But circle the wagons and protect your friends. Very, very loyal, I guess, is what I noticed. And that's what, and this is such a crazy life, and because it's such a crazy society, the government's not going to help you, and sometimes your family won't even help you, and so it's your friends to create these groups, create these safety nets. And that's why I'm really tight with that girl who I was in love with in my 20s, and she was doing heroin. She's clean now, but this year she supported me a lot. She gave me a cell phone that I forgot I gave her. When I was up, I had money, and I bought an extra cell phone as a backup, and I gave it to her because she needed one. And then when I'm down and I let my business go, and I've just kind of been doing my poverty walk, which is like staying with friends, not using money, just pretty much being dependent on the charity of people I know. And just, I guess it's my way of checking in with them, because now I'm staying with my folks, but before this I stayed with a friend for like a week, and before that another friend for like a month, and then before that another friend for like a month and a half. So when you work a lot in life and you're chasing that money, sometimes you lose sight of what's important. But I gave up the money chase purely just to check my mind and my life, and whether I agree with what's in my head. Check what's in my head and check whether I agree with it. Doing a lot of mushrooms, a lot of weed at the beginning of the year. But now as we wind down the end of the year, and that's why I'm at my folks' house too, out of respect, they don't really, I smoked all my weed. If I had some, I'd smoke it, but you know, when I'm poor, I feel kind of guilty for doing drugs. Other than coffee, I guess. You know, you don't want to just say drugs. Everything's a drug. But when I'm poor, I feel guilty smoking weed, doing psychedelics, because you want to make sure your feet are under you. It's a treat. So when I first got to my mom's house here, I was like, I had a lot of weed, but smoked it all within the week, and now I've been pretty sober. Told my mom I was gonna have a sober November for her, so she can't give me shit. That's how our family operates. It's on logic. They've been talking to me about Trump and all their bullshit that they listen to, but we always come back to logic. So, and that's the most satisfying part of the discussion when we talk, and I got them on a logical point. So in order to make sure that they respect me, I'm giving them a little bit of sobriety, and also I'm practicing what I preach. I tell everyone else that too. If you want to respect your sober self, and you want to know that you have a nice sober baseline, otherwise you get confused, you get a little bit lost. Your consciousness can become a hall of mirrors. So yeah, so this whole year was me checking my mind. Part of it was psychedelic trips, which I'll talk about in other times, but part of it is this checking in with people, being with people. And I remember that about Santa Cruz. This guy, his life was just funny in Southern California, in San Bernardino, the meth capital of the world, and now he has a baby in Santa Cruz and he has a family, and it's like, I feel like he's better off for having known our group and been involved with us, and those are family, friends for life. Just a bunch of stories like that. Like my friend, she's off H now, but she's a friend for life, because we've both been through so much, and it's not about the romance or anything like that. It's that we're the bonds in each other's life. When I need someone to save my life, she's there for me, and vice versa. I've never given up on her. I've been shitty to her, and I've been mean to her, and we've had our blow-ups, but we come back stronger. And the same with my folks. During that Vampires in Iraq notes, I was remembering the trauma our family was going through. I forgot about that. My dad acting kind of funny, disrespecting my mom, acting a little bit pervy, sending dick pics to young girls in other countries, and then sending them money too. It's like, Dad, that's not the type of men we are in my family. Come on, higher standard. And then understanding also the extenuating circumstances. He's on heavy barbiturates. He has signs of depression. That's one of the, suicide is one of the side effects of these types of medications. My mom says she took one of his pills by accident once. She couldn't move for the whole day, and he takes three of those a day. Phenobarbital, I think it is. I told him to give me one for my birthday so I could try it out, but it was a joke, maybe. Let's see. So we were getting back to, so that's the context of that. So I guess that's important, because we're trying to identify the poles by which are drawing my energy in life. I have society trying to tell me what to do, and I'm like, all right, army, society. All right, society, I'll be a soldier, or I'll be a college student, or I'll be a worker. It's like, all right, and then I have my own hormones telling me what to do. It's like, I'm a man, I need to fuck. I'm young, dumb, and full of cum. I need to get this baby batter out of me. It's driving me insane. It's like you can only jerk off so much before you rub the skin off your dick. And then I have my inherent sense of nobility, like my be good to your friends, be good to yourself. I want to be an artist, learn how to play guitar, write these poems. I want to be a good friend. I want because I have this inherent feeling, just from the books I read and the characters that I'm modeling on, is that that's what a good man is a man who has a word, is good by their friends, has a good social network. I withdraw a lot to do my art and to do my own thing, but I always knew that would be a weakness if I withdrew and didn't build social bonds, and so I invest time in my friends, not as much as I'm sure that they feel they deserve, and I've always been that friend that no one else really understands, but we're there for each other, and I'm remembering all these times that I've really put effort into them, like, all right, you guys, we're going to Santa Cruz, that's a fucking badass place, and we loved it, and that was formative for me and the people I brought up there. My buddy in the army, when he got out of the army, I brought him over to he was living in Salinas, that's where his family lives. I brought him over to my friends in Santa Cruz. He knew the army guys I knew over there. We all were from DLI, Defense Language Institute, in Monterey. That was the training where you learn languages. So that's my army friends I met. I never made it out of that training. I got kicked out before I left that base. But so I brought the guy who, he got chaptered out with me. No, he didn't. He got in trouble with me. Separate stuff, but around the same time. He was getting DUIs and getting in trouble. So they could put him as infantry, so he had to serve 5-6 years, maybe even 7 years as infantry. But when he got out, we were like, come on, hang out in Santa Cruz, and he hung out in Santa Cruz. One of my friends actually ended up dating his sister, and I think they're married now. I haven't talked to them in years. But all of this is like you reach out in society, and that's one of these things when we have these shootings and these other things going on in society and our social fabric is disintegrating. That's why I say social fabric, because you have to reach out and you have to pull it inwards. You have to like grab that friend and be like, nah, you're in our group now. And we're gonna go check on homeboy. And it doesn't mean you have to be best friends with everyone, but like over and over in my life, I'm like, no, I did check in on people. And that was just as important to me as making money or as like developing myself as an artist or like trying to get my rocks off or something. It's like leave no man behind type mentality, but for like the people in your life. So San Francisco, this poem, just to wrap. So that was a little wrap up of the whole time. After I do all that Iraq notes reading, I have a lot of military stuff in my head. I have a lot of emotions. My buddy at the time is probably still serving over there. I didn't even know about my cousin at the time and what he was going through. I only got those stories later on after he got chaptered out. And they had to go and try to, my aunt knows more about that. I haven't really talked to her about that. We don't have a really close relationship on my dad's side of the family. But I remember my cousin well growing up. So San Francisco, this song, this poem, I remember because I went to San Francisco for a veterans, there was a party to raise money for the troops, and it was through one of my progressive friends who had gone to NYU undergrad. Eventually he went back to NYU for his master's, and I was invited. I was in San Francisco. So I would make trips from Northern California to Southern. I was invited to go up there to that party. I was a veteran, and they were like raising money for the veterans, but it was just a bunch of hipster kids hanging out partying. But then you're supposed to donate a little money, and then they're gonna give it to the veterans. I didn't identify with that shit. I was looking around. I didn't even tell people I was a soldier. Like they were like, "Oh yeah, you're a soldier. You should come by." But I didn't even talk or like do anything. They just had a party. They were going on the roof. They were drinking. I was still trying to learn how to socialize, how to like hit on a girl without making her feel uncomfortable. Honest and direct communication goes a long way. For female interactions, I was still learning how to do that. When I would get drunk, my intentions would start bleeding out, and that just makes you look like a creep if you're just kind of sitting there like ogling a girl, unless she's as socially inept as you are, and then maybe you'll ogle each other into bed. But otherwise, if you just get drunk and let your horniness seep more and more out through your gaze, you're that dude. So that's not rule number one. Don't make people feel uncomfortable. So I wasn't having any luck there. And then, and also I didn't identify with the common view of the war or the soldiers, even the people who are trying to help. Because I've been reading so much, I was realizing how little in the public narrative, how little we're discussing what's actually going on in the public narrative. Like people criticize George Bush for being stupid, not for being a criminal in his execution of this war, which is endangering soldiers. Like there's verifiable criminal stuff going on in Iraq, embezzlement, contracts, no bid contracts, money just disappearing. There's a civil war being instigated, and there's like the mission of the CIA demonstrably being different than the mission of the US military. So we have our secret intelligence undermining the mission of the US military. One of those has to, either they're lying to the US military about the mission, or you're using our soldiers as pawns in a nefarious game where the CIA is actually creating these geostrategic political chess pieces. And I feel like you're disrespecting the military and you're breaking that social contract between the government and the military not to put soldiers unnecessarily in harm's way. So I have this very moral stance that's developing, and no one around me is talking about it. No one around me has the time or effort to put this research in. The only reason I do is because I'm taking I'll work a little bit, but then I'll go and I'll just read for months at a time. So that's why that poem is important. It's my sexual frustration. Is I realized at that time, Bob Dylan's just sexually frustrated in a lot of these songs. He's just taking it out on the girl. So I don't want to be that dude, but I'm acknowledging that I am that dude. That's why I think it's a funny song, a good little capsule of my time. There's this girl in San Francisco. I talked to her a little bit, didn't get anywhere. It's like she had a boyfriend for a while, a friend of a friend. Then there's a little time that she was single. There's a little window that I know intuitively I should have done something. I didn't really, and then all of a sudden she's dating someone else again. So later on you learn those times that someone was into you or the window was open. But the girl, especially if she has more experience, and that was your chance. And then a good woman is always in demand, I found in life. Most of the girls I dated in New York were dating someone else at the time I met them. You have to squeeze your way in. And then they decide to stop dating that person to date you or something. But unless you get them fresh when they first hit the market, first come to the city or something, that's why when people tell me they have a relationship, it's not to be a dick, but it's like, unless you're married, it's like, yeah, that's everyone has a relationship when I meet them. But like, you try to, without being a dick, but like, cultivate a friendship, cultivate getting to know someone, and then if there's a vibe, there's a vibe. So it's what it is. And then the same with my relationships. I'm never worried about people. I mean, if you have that selfless love view, that if you find someone better than me, then great. It wasn't meant to be. La Rochefoucauld says, if you cannot find love where it is not, and you cannot hide it where it is. Trust love if it's the real thing, and you're sincere with them, then they're not going to wander. And if they wander, it wasn't the real thing. Not saying just hit on people who are in relationships. It's kind of a dick thing, but just because they're in a relationship, it's like, well, that, how serious is it? And that's just, that might not be in a small town, but in New York, everyone has options. And then new dating in New York or in a big city is very interesting. So, but this girl definitely was single in San Francisco. And looking back, that was my window. I didn't take it. So tell me what happens when a girl's eyes fill from the lights of the city on the top of a hill. We were sitting on a hill. San Francisco's so beautiful because there's so many hills. And we were sitting on a hill looking at the city with me and her and I think some friends. And she was talking about dropping acid on that hill. I wasn't doing psychedelics at the time either. So she was just a little bit more experienced in the world than me. I was starting to realize how little I had done, how little I knew, and I wanted that experience. I didn't want to rush it, but I knew it was on my path. And little by little, I started to grow into the person I am now, and I'm starting to realize, I've always realized that it's a process of perpetual growth. So what we're doing, we're not saying that I'm perfect or I'm done growing. We're just documenting where I am right now in November 2008.